Alright guys, let's try to talk about um quite frankly, I don't even know where to start with this guy. Who is Typhon? No, legit, I'm asking you guys. I have no fucking clue. Like I don't know nothing about him really, besides some bits and pieces I managed to scrounge together and a little bit of information I managed to glean from a reliable source who shall not be named. But from what I can tell you, from what I've learned personally, is Typhon is an assassin. A damn good assassin. He's a Bengal tiger, big man, white fur, black stripes, and he hits really goddamn hard. And I remember when I first met him, I was younger, of course, and this was when he had been sent to kill Nora because, mobster story. You guys remember that one. I told y'all about that before. And my first dealing with him was this dude was intense. He was professional. He was quiet. Wasn't exactly stealthy in the sense of, walking in and out without anyone seeing you and getting the job done. But I think it was more along the lines of it's a club, a very busy social setting. So he didn't really see the need to blend in a sense. But yeah, he was going to basically just walk over, tear the lady's throat out, and leave. Done deal. I got in the way of that, being the good Samaritan, nosy person I was, and we ended up going at it. And this dude's the real deal. I couldn't even touch the guy at first. Only reason we even stopped fighting was because the owner came out with a gun and a fire broke out, and there's a whole bunch of like chaos that happened, so we were able to slip out afterwards. But uh, I don't know. He just moves different, I guess. He didn't even really put up a fight against me. His hands were behind his back the whole time. He just dodged, and the strikes he did hit me with were just, tail swipes and kicks. But that tail is like a sledgehammer, kind of similar to Luca's. And those kicks are just dangerous. Second time I faced him was the rematch within that same couple of days. And, yep, just as hard as the first time. While I did manage to do a bit better, I still couldn't really touch the guy. And the few strikes I did land on him, I guess, kind of bruised him because, not physically, but I think it's more along the lines of he's a proud man. Or he has an ego, one or the other. I don't know. He wasn't really talking all that much when I fought him. Because then he did this form of his, this weird little mist kind of thing. He went all black and his stripes turned to gold. It was crazy though, because like every time you would hit him afterwards, like you could physically feel your hands or your feet or like anything you hit him with making contact with his body, like fist to flesh. And then the second you make contact, the impact dissipates. Like it feels like you're punching through him afterwards, but not really. And I still don't know how he did it, but he got on my ass after that. But but for the longest time, I thought he was just toying with me. It wasn't until I ended up going to my super form that he started taking me seriously. But by that point, I had already won the fight because I just rushed him. I wasn't giving him any chance to like gauge how strong I was. I just said, "Yeah, no, we're knocking this down now," and I bested him that day. And I think he still has a chip on his shoulder about that one because I can tell him too when we walk into the sweet madness and we spy each other. Just looking at this guy, I can tell he really wants that rematch. He's not gonna outright come out and say it. He's not gonna demand it from me, but he does. Oh yeah, I can just feel his muscles tensing when he sees me. Like he's just aching to try to punch my head off. And I'm far better of a fighter than I was before, but I don't even know if I'd be able to take him on. Because for all intents and purposes, or for all I know, he could have been studying my fighting style in secret. gauging my strengths, my weaknesses, analyzing me, just waiting for the day where he gets that chance to come at me again. But he's not going to admit it. Oh, he'll never do that, because that would imply he sees me as a threat. And that would make him look lesser in the eyes of his peers. But nothing wrong with being cautious, or in certain cases, even paranoid. Might keep you alive. But I haven't fought him again since then. We did have a brief skirmish one time because him and Boo, unbeknownst to me, had been sent after some people. They were driving around. It was, I believe Harley was driving because it was her car. I think Miru was also there with me on the way, and I had assumed that he was going after the people in the car. So Boo landed on top of the car, and they started shooting at her. So when I saw him lunge in, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna get bad." So I went after him. The fight didn't last very long because apparently he wasn't sent there after that. It was a misunderstanding, basically. So we didn't really get that fated rematch, and I stopped afterwards. But his reflexes are still just as sharp as ever. That being said, that's enough glossing over or glazing his backstory. From what I have learned about him was he obviously ain't from the city. He comes from a village way out in the ways. Didn't really get the name of the village, but he was a son of a fisherman, and they were poor. And all he did all day is hunt and fish. That was the way they earned a living, and quite frankly, that was all he needed to know. And one day, on the way to the big city, because his family had scrounged up whatever they could for him, he left them behind, and I guess they just wanted him to find a better life in the big city, live the dream, so to speak. Kind of like people that come over to an area that they just hear stories about, like in fantasies, like, oh yeah, you can come out here and make a name for yourself, and you can live so much better than we can. It'll be great. Apparently, when he got there, wasn't exactly a high-end lifestyle because of his size and his, I guess, natural ferocity. Originally, he was just a bouncer. That's all it was. He was a security guard. But he wasn't satisfied with that job, so he started wandering one day, and he came across this temple. It's been abandoned now, but when he was there was an old retired master who taught him how to fight. And same thing with his hunting. He took it, just he soaked it up. He embraced it because that's just kind of what he does. When he throws himself into something, he goes full throttle with it. And he mastered various forms of martial arts, kung fu, the whole shebang. But one thing I've noticed about his fighting style is his body doesn't ever really relax. Like it's like all tense, all tension, all the time. So that has led to him overexerting himself, tearing muscles here and there, and moving beyond his normal limits in a fight, which, yeah, dangerous in short bursts, but long-term effects can like wear him out. Because even when I fought him the second time, I remember the more he pushed himself, the harder and faster he hit, but the more strain he put on himself. It affected his movements. Like he could lunge outward and strike, but then pulling back would be slower than usual. It's like watching a crane swing forward and slam into something. It takes time to pull it back afterwards. Boom. Like think of like a battering ram. The force going forward is quick and powerful, but then pulling back to do it again is like a if that makes sense. Now I don't know exactly what secrets he learned at the temple after the masters and them retired or died. Maybe he ate them. I actually have no clue what happened to them, and he's not going to tell me. Why would he give any of his secrets away to his potential enemies? But once he learned what he needed to, he ended up at the Sweet Madness one day. And he got into a fight with a group of people. That's kind of just how these stories go, because as much as no one tries anything in the Sweet Madness, it's when people do that people tend to talk about a bit more here and there. But they handle it inside the club, so, no one's really gonna look at it and go like, oh yeah. So the twins took a chance on him when they saw him basically mop the floor with people because he was quick, he was precise. He didn't even cause any damage. It was just boom, boom, boom. Quick and simple. And so they asked him, they said, have you ever killed a man? He lied and said, sure. So they said, okay, how'd you like to make some good money? So they hired him. Simple little job here and there. He was apparently supposed to just take out a local, a drunk, who had been building up tabs and hadn't been paying him. He was trying to leave the city, so they said, you catch this man, you do it. We'll set you up. Something nice. So he did. No, they didn't say exactly how it went. Just that he came back and he looked different. They could see it in his eyes. They knew he was lying. They just wanted to see how much he'd be willing to commit to it. And he did. Something about that thing changed him, but he got the job done. And that's ultimately what they cared about. So they paid him. And they handed him a business card. He followed it and took him to this under the table kind of organization, like in some kind of a guild of sorts for the sneaky types, the assassins, the thieves, the people who move in the shadows, so to speak. And they registered him. Gave him they gave him a bunch of burner phones. They gave him multiple ways to get contacted, and the idea was you use your skills, you take someone's life, you get paid for it. That's it. So, in between his training and his jobs, he'd send money back home, and they would apparently send him letters, but he didn't really have an address. So, sometimes they would send it to, well, the club. The twins will hold on to it for him and give it to him in his free time. Now, typically, he doesn't like anyone knowing about his people back home. That is one of his highly kept secrets. Only reason I know is because I've been upstairs where the twins are. I can read labels. So, yeah. But I know better than to start asking questions. That's a good way to get him looking for me, and I don't want that. So, in between doing all that stuff, from what I've seen, from what I've heard about him, at least from my quote unquote reliable source, who I will not name right now, he is still a bit of a kid at heart, like deep, deep, deep down in his pockets, or maybe his heart if he has one. He likes simple stuff: chocolate milk, chicken nuggets, slapstick cartoons, simple things, really. And while he doesn't really wear much, he's more of a simplistic person. He does wear the necklace his mother gave him and a bangle that he made for himself before he left. Now, some people who have interacted with him before keep trying to dress him up in other things, and like I said, he doesn't really care for it. He grew up as like a fisherman. Simplistic clothing works best for him. But who am I to say? I'm not exactly a fashion guru myself. And funny thing is, Boo has actually ran jobs with him before, which has surprised me because I don't recall her ever being a hitman or hit lady, hit woman, whatever. I don't see her taking lives like that. She'll fuck someone up, but she won't kill them for no reason. But they've apparently been tasked by the twins to run jobs together before. Simple ones, really. Smash and grabs, like intimidation purposes because Boo is scary when she's mad, and this is a massive tiger man, so he's scary just in general. So, they go somewhere, beat the brakes off a few people here and there, go about their business, and then, boom, problem solved. There are only a handful of people I know outside of me who have actually fought this man before. Boo's clashed with him once or twice. They were more like scuffles, nothing too crazy. Him and a guy named Mohambu, the bounty hunter, have clashed together over targets before. Mohambu had to guard him, Typhon had to kill him. So, two big beasts of people going at each other. That was a thing for a minute. And then you had, well, y'all remember Lydia, right? They've interacted a few times here and there. And she has actually challenged him quite a few times. But the thing with him is that, like I said, he's a very proud man. He doesn't like to fight people he deems as lesser than him. Unless they can hold their own against him or even beat him, he's not going to bother usually. Like, that's the same thing. Because like I said, he's a big man. Big, muscular, has cool colors on him. Women like him. He's not much of a conversationalist, but he doesn't have to be. This dude just sits around the club and oil farms. And the twins usually keep him occupied with food, drinks, dancers, whatever the case. Especially because Lydia, Little Miss Popular Girl, has been getting more of his attention recently. Some of the other club members, the patrons, even the fat cats with the wallets, like the people who like her because she's the popular one, like the one that a lot of people want to get with, they don't like that. And so they go to his table. Yes, they gave him his own table. Why I don't get my own table is beyond me. Fuck me, I guess. But I guess the twins look out more for their more consistent clientele. So he gets his own table in the corner so he can be left alone. Sometimes people will go over there to challenge him. Sometimes he'll put their heads through the railing for trying it. But it got to the point where people stopped doing that. Either because of his actions, because of the twins getting involved, or because the security will literally throw people out now for trying to do it. It's easier in the grand scheme of things versus having to pay for new equipment or to fix any damages he would cause. I remember one guy came over and tried to throw his drink in his face. He dodged it, grabbed the guy, and put him through the glass table he was using for his food. What happened afterwards? The twins had security drag the guy outside and beat his ass, and then swapped out Typhon's couch with a brand new one. They just have them in stock, I guess. It's crazy. My point being is, like I said, don't know too much about the guy. I just know that he's dangerous. Real dangerous. So when I found out Lydia was trying to do dealings with him, for one reason or another, I couldn't justify it, but Lydia's not exactly a girl you can just talk down. When she put her mind on something, she follows through with it. She's committed like that, I guess. And from what she told me about their interaction was she came at him quite a few times, and I guess she garnered some form of respect for him, or vice versa, the other way around, because he didn't kill her, which is how she was able to tell me the story. Then, they started, they got to talking, and I guess she even got him to start training her. In what way, I have no idea. I'm not there for those conversations. But that's a story for another day. One thing I do want to see this dude do is I kind of want to see him go all out proper. Just not against me. Like, I don't get me wrong, I like testing myself as much as the next man, but I don't just typically go out of the way to fight someone that typically goes for the lethal moves. Friendly sparring match, I'd be down, but I doubt I'd get so friendly with him. Knowing him, he'd probably still go full throttle against me and just say it was practice. But, if anything, hold on. Sorry, I had a text from Lydia. She wants me to do something. Lord only knows what that's gonna be. I don't know. I'll talk to you guys later.